Hello and welcome to This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. On this week's presentation, we take a look at Minister Zulfikar Mustapha's presentation during the budget debates that took place over the past week, and we see that he dealt with the misinformation and some very major falsehood being peddled by the opposition members in their presentations during the debate, and of course he dealt with all that. So agriculture has been allotted $28.7 billion in this year's budget, and this will transform the local agricultural sector, as will the entire budget itself that was presented, $500 billion for the development of Guyana over the next year. This is being described as a transformative budget, one that will set us firmly on the path to prosperity in all the sectors across the board. Of course, parts of this budget being funded by oil monies as we begin to set ourselves on a path to greatness as a nation. So, on this week's presentation, we bring you highlights of Minister Zulfikar Mustapha's presentation during the budget debates. We will be back after these messages. African swine fever is a highly contagious disease of domestic and wild pigs that is characterized by high fever, bleeding, and death within 2 to 10 days. African swine fever has been recorded in some countries of Africa, Asia, and Europe, and recently in the Dominican Republic in the Americas. Guyana is free of this devastating disease, but there is a risk for the disease introduction due to global movement of people, animals, and animal products. African swine fever is spread when pigs come into contact with contaminated pork products, feed, syringes, and infected materials, such as pigs and ticks. Pork products can carry the virus, even if they have been cooked or frozen. Humans can carry the virus on their clothing and footwear and may infect pigs that they come into contact with. Before traveling, know the disease status of the country you are visiting. Do not visit pig farms while in African swine fever affected countries. Travelers from affected countries are advised not to bring back food, pork, and pork products. Remember to properly clean, wash, and disinfect your clothing and footwear prior to returning or visiting Guyana. If you are arriving from an ASF infected country, kindly report same to the quarantine officer on arrival, and do not go near pig farms for 7 days. For further information, contact the Guyana Livestock Development Authority on telephone number 220-6556 or 7, fax 220-6557, or email glda1910@gmail.com. Government has committed to assisting coconut farmers across the country in their efforts at expanding their cultivations. This help will come through the clearing of vegetation and digging of internal drainage and irrigation channels. Farmers can also expect help in the form of technical support through NARI and the Hope Estate. Further, coconut seedling nurseries have been established in various regions as part of a decentralization program for nurseries. Coconut seedlings are now available. These are the 5, 3, and 18-month varieties. Farmers are reminded that the recommended number of trees per acre is 50. Persons interested in purchasing seedlings may make contact with Hope Estate on telephone number 663-2709. Once the booking is made, seedlings can be picked up from a nursery nearest you. A message from the management of Hope Estate, Ministry of Agriculture. In October 2016, the Kigali Amendment was adopted by all parties to the Montreal Protocol. This included Guyana. The Kigali Amendment brings the future production and the consumption of refrigeration gases under the Montreal Protocol through the phase-out of these ozone-depleting substances and their replacement with substances that are more environmentally friendly. To this end, the Hydromet Service has begun local preparations for Guyana's ratification and eventual compliance with the requirements of the Kigali Amendment. This will require legislative interventions, consultations with all stakeholders and the public at large about what changes will have to be made locally over the next few years. These consultations will begin shortly and will be advertised on all print and broadcast media platforms as well as on social media. For more information, visit the Hydromet website at hydromet.gov.gy. A message from the Hydromet Service, Ministry of Agriculture. The 2022 budget has been presented to Guyana's Parliament, the debates for which were concluded Friday. An unprecedented $552.9 billion has been prepared, outlining a slew of measures to create wealth for all Guyanese and improve their livelihoods. The theme of this year's budget is steadfast against all challenges, resolute in building our one Guyana. Of this sum, the agriculture sector has been allocated a total of $28.7 billion, a sum that caters to the expansion and the modernization of all aspects of the agriculture sector in Guyana. In this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, we bring you highlights of Minister Mustapha's presentation during the debate on Tuesday last. Describing the budget as transformative and visionary, the Agriculture Minister said the 2022 budget presented by his colleague with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, will drive expansion, increase production and productivity, and enhance competitiveness. Minister Mustapha's presentation followed that of opposition member Kemraj Ramjitan, who made a number of claims and assumptions described by the Agriculture Minister as false and malicious misrepresentation of the facts.
Mr. Speaker, this budget will address the socio-economic transformation of Guyana and build up fortify one Guyana. Mr. Speaker, this budget will drive economic expansion, increase productivity, and enhance competitiveness. Mr. Speaker, this budget will be remembered in the history as the budget which propelled the Guyanese economy into unprecedented development. Mr. Speaker, unlike the budget from the AP and UAFC, which had no substance, this budget will start the economic transformation of our country. And Mr. Speaker, just now we heard a number of misinformation, and I want to correct the honorable member. This here is the august body that we formulate laws, and when we come here we must be very truthful. You're talking about climate change. What did the APNUASC did for climate change? You all bought 12 defective pumps from India and brought it to Guyana. 12 defective pumps you all brought. You paid 75% of the money, and the pumps are inoperable. The pumps cannot perform. You bought fire engine to do pumping work in the drainage area. That's the achievement of the AP and UAFC government. Mr. Speaker, and I want to be very serious. The honorable member came here, said just now, that my brother colleague has manufactured information in the fishing industry. Probably the honorable member is not living in reality. Mr. Speaker, although we have issue in the fishing industry, we have seen the increase in catches for the latter part of last year. Mr. Speaker, and I want to quote a reputable processor in the fishing industry, the largest, and I want to say this publicly, the largest exporter in the history of Guyana told me last night that production increased from 400,000 pounds to 1 million tons in January. 1 million tons in January. And Mr. Speaker, the honorable member talked about the planting chip factory. The planting chip factory, Mr. Speaker, when we took over, had 6 employees doing nothing because the equipment that they bought was wrong equipment. The planting chip factory was not functioning. That's the achievement of the AP and UAFC government. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member talked about the facility in Region 1. Pastor Ororo, let me tell you what. The facility is incomplete without a boiler and it's not operable. We have to make that operable, Mr. Speaker. We have to make that operable, Mr. Speaker. So when you come here and talk about achievement, talk about the facts. Talk about the facts, what is taking place. And Mr. Speaker, I'll talk about the sugar just now. I want to take umbrage on this, on the note what the honorable member would have said just now. And he talked about flood relief. He said about flood relief. And he said, and he also said, listen, he also said that we have distributed to our families and friends. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want to say that thousands of farmers in our country, in our country were provided with flood relief. That is why we were able to bring back production to standard and up production in 6 months from the agriculture sector. Mr. Speaker, I have here in my hands more than 570 villages that has received flood relief from the government of Guyana. Well, Mr. Speaker, I will say about people. The PPP has friends in all corners of this country, if you call them our friends. We love to have friends. I have here in my hands testimony. The first one I have here is from your people. The chairman from the International Decade for People on African Descent, Mr. Vincent Alexander, is chairman of this body. You know what he said? He wrote to the Director General. He says, please accept our appreciation for following through on the commitment of the Ministry of Agriculture to provide flood relief to our members. This, Mr. Speaker, that is how we have friends in this organization. Mr. Speaker, we have here a letter from the Victoria community. And hear what they said. I want to read it for your understanding, to know that we have friends and we have supporters in every corner in this country, Mr. Speaker. Hear what they say. Hear what they wrote. I will read. Dear Minister Mustapha, appreciation for assistance. Victoria Community Development Council, in collaboration with the Victoria Northbrook Farmers Group, would like to formally thank you and extend to the Ministry of Agriculture and the Government of Guyana for the assistance we received during the flood. These are our friends, farmers in these areas. Mr. Speaker, I have here, it's hurting you all, because you know what? You feel that you all own a set of the population in this country, but not anymore. Not anymore. They're coming to us because we help them. Mr. Speaker, again I have here. Dear Mr. Mustapha, dear Mr. Mustapha, we the farmers of Ithaca community and the Ithaca Cooperative Society would like to extend our sincere gratitude to the President, Dr. Irfan Ali, and the Minister of Agriculture for the timely intervention with the cash grant. Ithaca. These are our friends in Ithaca. Mr. Speaker, I have it here again. You know, I will go through each and every one of this letter. You know what? You know why? Because you is accusing people in these communities that they receive flood relief wrongfully. And I will be going back to these communities to tell them that the PNC and APNU AFC accuses them of receiving false flood relief. I will go and tell them. Mr. Speaker, the village, listen again, the village of Seafield and member of the Rainbow Generation Farmers Group suffered greatly during the recent flood. We lost our crop and animal. We were relieved to hear the President say the government would give us the flood relief cash grant. We collected ours during the Region 5 distribution, and it has helped us so much to go back to the field and start back our farming. This is the Seafield. We have friends in Seafield. We have supporters in Seafield. Mr. Speaker, the farmers, this year, and I will give copy to the Honorable Speaker, so you can see it. You can see it publicly. I am raising this so that the people in this community will see that we are making the representation for them in this National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, again, the farmers group of Belladrum community extend appreciation to the government and the president for giving them relief. Mr. Speaker, it's hurting. It's hurting. They can't take it anymore, you know. They can't take it anymore. They're feeling it. It's stinging them. So they can't take it anymore, Mr. Speaker. It's stinging them. You know, it will hurt me if a man go in Bloomfield or Port Brown and say they get support up to AFC. So it's hurting you all that we are getting the support of the people of this country. This is the one Guyana. This is the one Guyana the president is talking about. The one Guyana will be built under the People's Progressive Party civic government.
Touching on criticism of government's efforts in revitalizing the Guyana Sugar Corporation, including the reopening of the closed sugar estates, the Agriculture Minister said the PPP government will always stand with sugar workers and their families who were dismissed as not worthy of living by the APNU AFC government. The minister stressed that the $6 billion allocated to Gaisuco in this year's budget will not only help in returning the industry to profitability, but will also create thousands of jobs.
This year, another $6 billion is budgeted for the sugar industry. Another $6 billion. And what we will do, when we invest another $6 billion, we create more jobs. Tens of thousands of jobs we create, and we help tens of thousands of families. We put in the village economy more cash, and thousands of people are benefiting, not only the sugar workers, but people who live in the community and who depend on the sugar industry indirectly. So we will continue to support it. And we will continue to support all other industries in this country, Mr. Speaker.
Minister Mustapha also dismantled falsehoods in relation to Guyana's rice industry.
Mr. Speaker, the rice growing industry is expected to grow significantly this year, almost by 25% according to projection from the budget speech. This is testament to our rice farmers being steadfast against the challenge of COVID-19 and the May-June flood of 2021. And over the next 5 years, we predict a tremendous increase in annual rice production. Mr. Speaker, the rice industry has been making valuable contribution to our country's economy. We saw under the APNU-AFC, rice production start to decline, and less acreage came under cultivation. You know what? When we took government in 2020, rice farmers had to pay $15,000 an acre for D&I charges and land rental. We brought that down back to $3,500 per acre, and because with that one measure, rice farmers were able to save almost $1.6 billion back in their pocket. We took out the VAT on agriculture inputs, agriculture machinery, and the cost of production went down. That's the way how to run an industry, not to tax people, not to put increased fees, Mr. Speaker, and burdens on the backs of the farmer. All the burdens that were placed on the backs of the rice farmers of this country we took out those burdens, and today the rice industry is again prospering. The rice industry is moving leaps and bounds, Mr. Speaker. We are bringing out new variety. Only last year, we launched a new variety called in GRDB 16. You know what that is doing now? That is moving the national average from 39 bags per acre to between 55 to 60 bags per acre. That's the variety we're talking about. We are working right now to bring out another variety called the biofortified rice. You know, that is very nutritious and will be very healthy. The supplement that doctor ordered the patient to buy, the zinc supplement, we are now growing it in that rice. That rice will attract lucrative price and preferential price, the biofortified rice. That, Mr. Speaker, that we are in the third trial now. And very shortly, that will come out, and we'll, as long it's come out good, Mr. Speaker, we'll start get farmers to plant. So Guyana is the only country in CARICOM that will plant that variety of rice. Mr. Speaker, we'll invest another 49.5 million for provision and an installation of a pre-cleaner and rehabilitation of a seed paddy facility at Anvoak in Region 5 to increase seed paddy production from 9,000 to 50,000 bags per crop at the MMA. The MMA is the largest rice cultivation area in our country, and we are preparing. Likewise, we will be expending another $20 million to purchase a seed drying facility at Blackbush Polder, where over 600 farmers will be benefiting. Those are the things that we're talking about. Last year, we would have built 6 new drying floors. This year, we'll continue to build another 2 so that farmers can have access to dry their paddy. Mr. Speaker, we'll meet there. Mr. Speaker, in 2017, the honorable member, the then former Minister of Finance talked about drone. Probably he was a fan of flying things at that time. Drone wasn't implemented in this country. Mr. Speaker, now we are doing that. That's the technology we brought to this in the rice industry. Last year, November, a farmer in Golden Fleece use drone to do common spraying. Imagine that, 135 acres of rice that would have taken 3 days with 3 persons was sprayed in half a day by the drone. This year, we will be purchasing a drone for the rice research station so that we can have that technology there too. So we are modernizing the rice sector.
Since the national flood disaster of 2021, government has been working through the NDIA in ensuring the country prepares itself to be more resilient to the impacts of climate change, an effort that will be ramped up this year.
Mr. Speaker, it's a priority of our government to modernize and upgrade infrastructure to advance water management, as strategically guided by the revised LCDS 2030. In Budget 2022, focus will be placed on expanding and strengthening drainage and irrigation systems to improve drainage of agricultural area, with a $13 billion in drainage and irrigation. Mr. Speaker, to this end, $1 billion will be invested for the urgent acquisition of equipment needed to enhance flood protection and operation capacity. Mr. Speaker, as I said, that the D&I system will be modernized this year. We'll continue to do large projects that will have impact on our country, like the Hope Canal. You all remember the Hope Canal, visionary. The Jack Day and the PPP civic government, again, vision to create that canal. We will be doing canals like those in regions 3, 5, and 6 this year. Start those work there so that we can mitigate flooding in our region and prepare for climate change. Those are projects that will help the agriculture sector advance and move forward.
Minister Mustapha also spoke of government's investment in ensuring that Guyana becomes a net exporter of corn and soybean in 5 years.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, today Guyana is chairing the ministerial task force. We have prioritized items and commodities that we are pursuing. We have already started the trial run with the corn and soya beans. This year we will continue to expand that. Last year we started 125 acres. This year we will continue to expand it to 2,700 acres so that we can move this process forward. The feed industry in our country, we import close to about $30 million annually in feed. We want in another 3 years to be self-sufficient and another 2 years from there to be a net exporter of corn and soya. That's the vision we are talking about. Those are the policies that change people's lives and improve our country.
In closing off his budget debate presentation, the Agriculture Minister spoke of President Dr. Irfan Ali's Agriculture and Innovation Entrepreneurship Program.
It will be remiss of me if I don't mention this project. And this is the Agriculture and Innovation Entrepreneurship Program. This is a program, Mr. Speaker, was launched recently by His Excellency the President. This initiative stemmed from the President's and the PPP Civic's unwavering support for young people and their needs. We are not telling them to go and cook dark food, or do cook up rice, or do pepper sauce, or bake breadfruit chip. We are putting people where they can work and earn, people who are qualified. And Mr. Speaker, as I said, this initiative also tied directly into our government's manifesto, which has become policy now of creating jobs, opportunity for youth in Guyana, especially our young women. Mr. Speaker, as I'm speaking here now, works are ongoing on the shade houses that will be built, almost 300 in this country, where young graduates from the University of Guyana, the Guyana School of Agriculture, and other young people that represent the country itself, people from every single background, are there working so that they are in this initiative to build the one Guyana that we spoke about and the President wants to build.
On Friday, Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustapha joined His Excellency Dr. Irfan Ali as he attended the 101st special meeting of the Council for Trade and Economic Development, COTED. COTED promotes trade and economic development of CARICOM and oversees the operation of the single market and economy. President Ali was also joined by Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mr. Hugh Todd, Foreign Secretary Robert Persaud, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Ambassador Elizabeth Harper, and Director of Projects at the Office of the President, Marcia Sharma. Government has committed to assisting coconut farmers across the country in their efforts at expanding their cultivations. This help will come through the clearing of vegetation and digging of internal drainage and irrigation channels. Farmers can also expect help in the form of technical support through NARI and the Hope Estate. Further, coconut seedling nurseries have been established in various regions as part of a decentralization program for nurseries. Coconut seedlings are now available. These are the 5, 3, and 18-month varieties. Farmers are reminded that the recommended number of trees per acre is 50. Persons interested in purchasing seedlings may make contact with Hope Estate on telephone number 663-2709. Once the booking is made, seedlings can be picked up from a nursery nearest you. A message from the management of Hope Estate, Ministry of Agriculture. In October 2016, the Kigali Amendment was adopted by all parties to the Montreal Protocol. This included Guyana. The Kigali Amendment brings the future production and the consumption of refrigeration gases under the Montreal Protocol through the phase-out of these ozone-depleting substances and their replacement with substances that are more environmentally friendly. To this end, the Hydromet Service has begun local preparations for Guyana's ratification and eventual compliance with the requirements of the Kigali Amendment. This will require legislative interventions, consultations with all stakeholders and the public at large about what changes will have to be made locally over the next few years. These consultations will begin shortly and will be advertised on all print and broadcast media platforms as well as on social media. For more information, visit the Hydromet website at hydromet.gov.gy. A message from the Hydromet Service, Ministry of Agriculture. Well, that's all the time we have on this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. Until next time then, be good to yourselves and to each other.